Be attentive. Volume 14, March 16, 1922. Do you think it is trivial that I make all your acts run in the current of my will, and that the current of my will runs in your acts? And that as these currents run, they form one single act with all the acts of creatures, making a divine volition flow over all of them, becoming the actor of the act of each one, substituting for all, with a divine act, a divine and eternal love, reparation, and glory, and that the current of a human will is in continuous relations with a divine will, and that one pours into the other. My daughter, what I recommend to you is that you be attentive, and that you follow me faithfully. And my love, in these days, the circumstances have been such that I felt distracted. And he, therefore be attentive, because when all that you do does not flow in my will, it happens as if the sun stopped its course. And when you are distracted, you form clouds before the sun, and you remain obscured. However, when the distractions are involuntary, a strong and firm act of your will to run in my will is sufficient to place the sun on its course, and like a rapid breeze, to dispel the clouds in order to make the sun of my will shine more beautifully. Volume 14, March 24th, 1922. I would like to multiply my life every day into as many hosts for as many existing creatures, and give myself to them. But I wait in vain. My will remains without effect. However, all I have decided will have its fulfillment. So I take another way, and I multiply myself in every living active creature done in my will, to have them substitute for the multiplication of my sacramental life. Ah, yes, only the souls who live in my will shall substitute for all the communions that creatures do not do, for all the consecrations that priests do not do. In them I will find everything, even the multiplication of my sacramental life. Therefore I repeat to you, your mission is great. I could not choose you for a higher, more noble, sublime, and divine mission. There is nothing that I will not centralize in you, even the multiplication of my own life. I will make new prodigies of grace, never done before. So I beg you, be attentive, be faithful to me. Let my will always have life in you, and I will find in you, in my own will, the work of creation as fully completed, with my full rights and everything I want. Volume 14, April 13th, 1922. The road of our will is extremely long. It embraces eternity. And as it seems that one has navigated the way, much remains to do and to receive from us in order to learn our ways and to form the first copy of the soul who lives in our will. This is the greatest work we must do. Therefore we must give you much, and it is appropriate to dispose you much, so that you may receive. This is the reason for my repeated questions. It is to dispose you, to enlarge you, and elevate you, in order to accomplish my designs. I care so much about it, that I would leave everything aside to reach my purpose. Therefore be attentive and faithful. Volume 14, April 29th, 1922. Now, as for this beautiful harmony, these threads of light that come out from your interior, if your heart did not flow in my will but in yours, or in another will, many heartbeats of divine life would be missing in your heart, while many human heartbeats would replace them, for as many as those which are missing to the divine, and so with the fibers, affections. And since what is human is not capable of forming light but darkness, many threads of darkness would be formed, and my volition would remain saddened, unable to carry out all the power of my will within you. While he was saying this, I wanted to see whether there were these human heartbeats in my soul, which would interrupt the life of the divine heartbeat. And as much as I looked, I could not find any. And Jesus, for now there is nothing. I have told you this to make you be attentive, and to let you know what it means to live in my will. To live from an eternal and divine heartbeat. To live with my omnipotent breath. Volume 14, May 19th, 1922. You will drink all of my will with all the goods it contains, as though in one gulp, and in another gulp you will let it out. And while you do this, you will multiply my life and my goods, as many times, for as many times as you drink it, and for as many times as you release it. And if the blessed in heaven enjoy all the beatitude which my will contains, and live in it as in their own center, however they do not multiply it, since their merits are fixed in them, you are happier than them, because you can multiply my life, my will, and my goods. In them my will brings beatitude, while in you it is operative, and I ask for your acts in order to multiply myself. When you operate, I anxiously watch whether you operate in my will, so as to receive the contentment of seeing myself multiplied in your act. How attentive you should be, and let nothing escape you. Volume 14, July 14th, 1922. This is why I have called you into our womb, so that as you live with us, your will, diffusing within ours, may expand and generate sanctity, light, and love together with us. And multiplying in everyone with us, it may generate in others that which it has received from us. This is the only thing wanted by us, which is left for us to fulfill with regard to creation, that our will act in the creature as it acts in us. Our love wants to unleash our will from our womb in order to place it in the creature, but it keeps looking for the one who is disposed, who would recognize it and appreciate it, in order to generate in her what it generates in us. This is the reason for so many graces, so many manifestations about my will. It is the sanctity of my will that demands that it be known, loved, and revered before being placed in the soul, that it be able to display all its virtue and power within her, and that it be surrounded by the cortege of our own graces. So everything I do to you is nothing other than equipping and adorning the dwelling of my will. Therefore be attentive. Here in our womb you will learn our ways better, and you will receive all the prerogatives which befit the designs we have formed over you. Volume 14, July 16th, 1922. The sanctity of other virtues is enough known in the whole Church, and whoever wants it can copy it. This is why I was not concerned with multiplying that same knowledge. But the sanctity of living in my will, the effects and the value it contains, the finishing touch which my creative hand will give to the creature in order to make her similar to me, is not yet known. This is the reason for all my haste, so that what I told you be manifested. And if you did not do so, you would constrain my will, imprison within me the flames which devour me, and make me delay the complete glory that creation owes me. However, I want things to come out orderly, because one missing word, one broken nexus, connection, or sentence, instead of shedding light, would cast darkness about me, and instead of making creatures give me glory and love, would make them remain indifferent. Therefore be attentive. I want what I have said to come out whole. Volume 14, July 20th, 1922. See, my eternal will imposed on my humanity to accept as many deaths for as many creatures as would have life in the light of the day. And my humanity accepted these deaths with love, so much so that the eternal volition made as many marks in my humanity for as many deaths as I was to suffer. Now, would you want me to mark your will with as many marks as mine received, so that you may suffer as many deaths as I suffered? I said, Fiat. And Jesus, with both mastery and speed, marked my will with many marks of death, as many as he had, telling me, be attentive and strong in suffering these deaths, more so since from these deaths life will come out for as many other creatures. Volume 14, July 24th, 1922. Drink, my daughter, the blood which gushes forth from this wound, that you may receive the strength that you lack. Courage, do not fear, I will be with you. We will share all the weight, the work, the pains, and the deaths. This is why I tell you, be attentive and faithful, because my grace wants correspondence. Otherwise it takes nothing to go down. What does it take to open and to close one's eyes? It takes nothing. Yet see the great good of keeping them opened, and the great harm of keeping them closed. By keeping them opened, the eyes are filled with light, with the sun, and with this light the hand can work, the foot can walk safely and without stumbling. One can distinguish objects, whether they are good or bad. One can reorder things, read, write. Now what does it take to lose all this good? Closing one's eyes, and then the hand cannot work, the foot cannot walk, and if it does, it is subject to stumbling. One can no longer distinguish objects. He reduces himself to inability. Such is the correspondence, nothing but opening the eyes of the soul. And as one opens them, light comes to the mind. My image is reflected in all that she does, copying me faithfully, in such a way that she does nothing but receive continuous light from me, so as to convert all of her being into light. On the other hand, lack of correspondence plunges the soul into darkness and renders her inactive. Volume 14, September 5th, 1922. Now know that I have enclosed and secured the creation in you. I want that that which was done in heaven have life upon earth, but in our own will, which ascending to us again, may bring it to us all love, full of light, and beautiful as we delivered it. This is why I marked in you all the deaths and pains of each creature, and of all of them together, so that I might find the whole creation in you. And since heaven remains open between you and us, you will bring creation onto our lap, as if it were delivered by you, that is, as a birth from our will made in you, which you bring back to our feet, delivering it on our lap. These are our rights that we claim. All we want is that that which came out from us enter into us. It is true that our will alone, acting in a soul with its power, just as it acted in that void when we delivered creation, will be able to give us back our rights, and make the whole creation smile at us, at our feet, as though in triumph. But we want to use this power so that we may not remain disappointed in the work of creation, and our love triumphs more in taking from one creature that which all should give us. Now we are fixing everything in you. Then the other little births will be delivered, which, loving to live in this way, in our will bring creation onto our lap. Some 10, some 20, some 100. You will be like a tree which has sunk its roots deep into our will, and these roots will make other saplings germinate, which, surrounding the tree like a crown, will produce their fruits. True good never remains isolated, and since my will is the greatest good, its fecundity will be immense. Therefore, courage. Be attentive in everything. It is true that our will shall do everything, but the thread of yours must run together with it and extend into heaven, on earth, and in everything, to let us accomplish what we want to operate in you. Volume 14, September 9th, 1922. Now, my daughter, my love wants to produce again, and while taken by excesses, it goes out to take respite. It wants to deliver new births. And just as it operated in my humanity, enclosing all of creation in it, so that it might give to the Father everything he wanted from it, and let everything descend for the good of all creatures, so now, binding your will with mine, I want to enclose all of creation in you, and letting you take possession of my will, I want to feel my acts, my love, my pains being repeated in you. I want my reflector on earth, so that in looking at it I may see in you, as though in a mirror, the creation which I created in heaven, and which my humanity enclosed within itself. And in reflecting myself in this mirror, I may recognize creation in you. We will be in continuous mutual reflections. I will make creation be reflected in you, and you in me. I from heaven, you from the earth. Then will my love be content, when I see in a creature not only the image of my humanity, but all that my divine will operated in it? Therefore be attentive, and follow my will. Volume 14, October 6, 1922. The first plane of the human acts changed into divine in my will has already been done by me. I left it as though suspended. And the creature, except for my dear and inseparable mamma, knew nothing. This was necessary. If man did not know the way, the door, the rooms of my humanity, how could he enter inside of me and copy what I did? Now the time has come for the creature to enter into this plane, and do also something of her own within mine. What is the wonder if I have called you as the first one? Besides, it is so true that I have called you as the first, since to no other soul, though dear to me, have I manifested the way to live in my will, the effects of it, and the wonders and goods which the creature operating in the supreme volition receives. Check as many lives of saints as you want, or books of doctrines. In none of them will you find the prodigies of my volition operating in the creature, and of the creature operating in it. At the most, you will find resignation, union of wills, but in not one of them will you find the divine will operating in her, and she in it. This means that the time had not come in which my goodness was to call the creature to live in this sublime state. Even the way I make you pray cannot be found in anyone else. Therefore be attentive. My justice demands this. My love is delirious, so my wisdom disposes everything in order to obtain the intent. It is the rights, the glory of creation, that we want from you. Volume 14, October 19th, 1922. I am not the isolated God. No. I want the creature together with me. My echo must resound in hers, and hers in mine, so as to make them one. And if I have waited for so many centuries to make known my will operating in the creature, and hers operating in mine, almost raising it to my own level, it is because I had to prepare and dispose the creatures to move from minor to greater knowledges. I had to act like a teacher who must teach vowels, consonants, and then move to compositions. Until now, nothing but vowels and consonants was known about my will. It was necessary that I move to compositions, and this will carry out the life of my will. The first composition, I want it from you. If you are attentive, you will do it well, so as to give me the honor of an essay given to you by your Jesus, the most noble essay, the essay of the eternal will, which will bring me the greatest glory, and forming the connection with the creatures, will make known new horizons, new heavens, and new excesses of my love. See, in my supreme will are all my interior acts, which my humanity did, as though in waiting, to come out as messengers, to put themselves on the way. These acts were done for the creatures, and want to give themselves and make themselves known. and since they cannot give themselves, they feel as though imprisoned, and they pray. They implore my will to make them known, so as to be able to give the good which they contain. I find myself in the condition of a poor mother who has held her birth inside her womb for a long time, and as the time comes to deliver, if she does not, she agonizes, she anguishes, and forgetful of her life, at any cost she wants to give birth. The hours, the days of delay seem like years and centuries to her. She has done and disposed everything. There is nothing left but to deliver it. So am I, more than a mother. For many centuries I have held within me, more than a birth, all my human acts done in the sanctity of the eternal volition, in order to give them to the creature. And when they give themselves, they will raise the human acts of the creature to divine acts, and will adorn her with the most beautiful beauties, making her live with the life of my will, giving her the value, the effects, and the goods which my will possesses. Therefore, more than mother, I agonize, I anguish, I burn with desire to deliver this birth from my will. The time has come. There is nothing left but to find the one who would receive the first birth, so as to continue with other births in other creatures. This is why I tell you, be attentive. Enlarge your heart to be able to receive all the value, the effects, the knowledge which my will contains, so that I may place the first birth in you. How much joy will you give me? You will be the beginning of my happiness upon earth. I could say that the human will rendered me unhappy in the midst of creatures, and my will operating in the creature will restore my happiness. Volume 14, October 27, 1922. If my humanity did not give this inheritance which it possessed, that is, the divine will, the sole and only thing I loved, and which gave me all that is good, my descent upon earth would have been incomplete, nor could I say that I have given everything. On the contrary, I would have reserved for me the greatest thing, the most noble and divine part. See, then, how necessary it is that my will be known in all of its relations, prodigies, effects, and value, what I did in this will for the creatures, and what they must do. This knowledge will be a powerful magnet in order to attract the creatures and make them receive the inheritance of my will, and so as to make the generation of the children of light enter the field, the children of my will. Be attentive, my daughter. You will be my spokesperson, the trumpet to call them and gather this generation so favored and longed for by me. Volume 14, November 5th, 1922. So has my will done. It had to make known the way, the door, the stairs, the first rooms, to be able to move on into the whole immensity of my will, and to show them the great goods which are in it, and how the creature operating in these goods contained in my will acquires the variety of its colors, of its immensity, sanctity, and power, and of all my works. In making something known, I give and impress in the soul that divine quality which I make known, If you knew under what mighty waves of graces you are, when I move on to make you know other effects of my will, and how I paint in your soul as a skillful painter the different effects and values, which I make you know with the most vivid colors, you would remain crushed beneath my waves. But having compassion for your weakness, I sustain you. And while I sustain you, I impress more within you what I tell you, because if I speak, I act. Therefore be attentive and faithful. Volume 14, November 11th, 1922. Having to call you into the center of my will, to live a communal life in it, and to make you cover all the acts done by me, which are not yet known by creatures, it was necessary to restore your nature to this happy state, for my decorum, sanctity, and dignity. Otherwise you could not have run with me in the interminable acts of my will, nor be with me with that familiarity which is needed in order to operate together. The passions, the seeds of tendencies which are not good, would have been like many bars of division between me and you. At the most, you would have been at the commands of my will, like many of my faithful ones. But you would have been very far from doing what I did, and neither you nor I would have been happy. While living in my will is precisely this: to live completely happy on earth, to then move on to live more happy in heaven. Therefore I tell you, true daughter of my volition, first happy birth from my will, be attentive and faithful to me. Come and live in my eternal volition. My acts await you, wanting the seal of yours. Those of my mamma await you. The whole of heaven awaits you, wanting to see all of their acts glorified in my will by a creature of their own stock. The present and future generations await you, to be given back the lost happiness. Ah, no, no, the generations will not end until man returns into my womb, beautiful, dominant, just as he came out of my creative hands. Volume 14, November 24th, 1922. I have placed in you so much light of truth about my will, that more than sun, it would be enough to illuminate all, and to do more good than the sun itself does to the earth. I, myself, and the generations await that this light be unleashed from you, while you think of how to hide it, and you almost afflict yourself if authoritative people want to occupy themselves with putting it out. No, no, this is not good. I felt I was dying in hearing my sweet Jesus, and I felt even more guilty because during these days, since one of my writings had been withdrawn without achieving the purpose for which it had been released, that is, to publish it, I had felt great satisfaction. Oh, how bad I felt in being reproached so severely, and wholeheartedly I asked for his forgiveness. And Jesus, to calm me down, blessed me, telling me, I forgive you, and I bless you, but you will be more attentive, and will not do it any more. You have reached the end of the Be Attentive series, Volume 14. Fiat.